YouTube and welcome back to my channel, Aussie SFF, Sci-Fi and Fantasy. And today I'm coming at you with a bit of a catch-up, wrap-up and a little bit of a discussion about what I'm reading. So here we go. So recently read, I finished City of Glass by Cassandra Clare, and that was a reread. I love this one because, spoilers, this is the one where they find out they're not brother and sister. So one of my favourites out of the series. The next book I finished, I said in a previous one about a haul that I've signed back up to Marvel Unlimited online, and I finally finished, well, started and finished the Marvel Masterworks X-Men Volume 2. So this is by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, who does not get enough credit. I've got some major comic book fan kids in my classes and they have no idea who Jack Kirby is. So if you're a comic book fan out there, go and find out who Jack Kirby is. I knew who he was before I knew who Stan Lee was. So yeah, that one was a 3 out of 5 star for me. It's still a bit clunky in the early 60s. So my other graphic novel for the past couple of weeks was the Dark Crystal Creation Myths Volume 2, and this was I'm absolutely loving this. I went out and ordered the next one straight away. Sorry about the light level difference. I just realized I didn't open the blinds. That's what they're called, blinds. So this is Dark Crystal Creation Myths, and it's got these beautiful illustrations and the characters created by Brian Froud and Jim Henson, and I absolutely love them. So that was another 5 out of 5 star read for me. I've been going on a bit of a Philippa Gregory kick. I find them incredibly relaxing. I can slip in and out of these books because I know the Tudor period so well, being completely overwhelmed by media in this era. So I read both Three Sisters, Three Queens, which is in the Cousins War and Tudors series, but that one's based around the workings of Queen Mary. Basically, it's the sister of King Henry VIII, who was shipped off to Scotland to marry the Scottish king, to shore up the alliances there, and her relationship shown through her eyes, sort of like a diarised version. Her relationship with Catherine of Aragon and her other little sister, who got shipped off to France and very quickly shipped back when her king husband died. The other one of the Philippa Gregory books that I read was The Taming of the Queen, which was about King Henry VIII's last wife, who actually managed to outlive him, and that was Catherine Parr. And it's a diarised version of her life and surviving this tyrant of a husband, and her part in some of the religious reforms. And of course, I don't know how much truth there is into it, because very little of a female's role in these things would have been recorded. I really like these, and they were both 4 out of 5 star reads for me. Also finished one of the ones that I borrowed from my library, which was The Dragon's Gate, which is the second one in the Chronicles of the Black Tulip. And this was brilliant, really well done, childlike, old school adventure book, and I absolutely loved it, with, you know, that sort of swashbuckling element to it, that without being fearful of having someone die or having there be a tragic moment in there that is actually sort of bittersweet. So it's not completely saccharine childlike, but it's incredibly good travel swashbuckling one set in the time when that was still possible, during, I think it's the 1500s, and really good. The main character, Bren, really brings it all together and because he's got these starry-eyed views of the way that travel around the world into uncharted territories should be, and he's really getting his eyes opened in this lot, with a little bit of magic chucked in just for fun. I also listened to The Land of Stories volume, which is the wishing spell. This is done by Chris Colfer, which I found out is one of the actors from Glee. I'm like, oh, I know who that is. And it was really quite pleasant because the audiobook version that I was listening to was actually done by Chris Colfer. So it was kind of nice having the voices that he would have had as he was writing it. Again, it's one of those ones where there's tragedy in there, and it's a little bit like fairy tales in that it doesn't always have to turn out perfect or start out perfect, and they're not afraid to put in a couple of little jokes that are a little bit risque. I really liked this, and the twins, although I don't know why, but Alex in Australia is much more often a boy's name than a girl's name, and there was twins Alex and Connor, and I kept getting confused and thinking the boy was talking when it was actually the girl, Alex. That was really good. I just finished that one today. That was a 3 out of 5. Sorry, Colin's joined us once again because he can't be quiet. You right? Not the most recent, because that was the most recent, but last night I finished this. This is amazing. The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. Oh my god, awesome. Loved it. Finished it in like 2 days. It was so good. I love the idea that the witch in the... You're right? I love the idea of the misdirection and the witch being, although in the woods, not a horrible character. I love the idea that the moonlight is magical, because when I was a baby and when my brothers were babies, my mum, if we were cranky, would take us out and show us the moon, and that would calm us down. And I want a pet dragon that's tiny and thinks it's big. I have a pet dog who's tiny and thinks he is big. It's not quite the same. Want a pet dragon. Love it. 5 out of 5. I'm sure you're shocked. Lastly, and this is the reason why I didn't do a weekly discussion recently, was because I was slogging my way through the finish of Infinite Jest. Oh my god, I'm going to do a whole separate thing on this. I just can't even. It's a 2. It's 2, barely a 2. It's like a 1.5 out of 5. It's a classic book that everyone says is amazing and wonderful. A hard read. It wasn't so much of a hard read as it was more, or I'll go into it in a separate thing. It was just blah. I've read hard books. War and Peace is a hard book to read and get your head around with all the different characters. This just seemed like literary wank. But if you want to know more, I will do another video and link that up hopefully sometime this week. That is what I have currently finished reading. What I am now reading, I started this last night. It is wonderful so far, and that is Everless. I know it came out a couple of years ago, and I think it might have been quite popular on BookTube, but I have wanted to read this for a while since I had a look at the blurb. And obviously most people would know that they've done something to the people's blood, that all your time is now locked up in your blood, and you can pay for things with your blood and your time, so your life is shorter. Consequently, rich people live forever. Doesn't that just sound bloody horrible? I am a chapter 17 pages in, but I am absolutely loving it. I am also currently reading, actively reading on my Kindle, The Sword of Shannara by Terry Brooks. Absolutely loving that as well. I listened to it initially and could not get my head around what was going on. There is too much world building and character development to be listened to in a way at 2 speed in my audiobooks. Just can't happen. So I decided to read that on my Kindle. I'm about 30% of the way through that one. I am also listening to, just started today, Pendragon by James Wilde. This is a historical fiction book set near Hadrian's Wall during the Roman occupation of Britain. I think it's like the 700s, maybe the 500s. I'm not entirely sure, but there's something happening at the wall. Sound familiar? And that one's pretty good, but I only started listening to that one on the way home from work today. And lastly, on my Marvel Unlimited, I am reading Deadpool, The Circle Chase by Fabian, I'm going to go with Nixia. Fabian Nixia. So that I'm really loving because that's pretty much up to date as to when I used to read comic books, but I never read any Deadpool. And Deadpool's, I wouldn't have read it as a teenager, but right now I love that kind of humor. That is hilarious. If you have any comments on the books that I'm reading, or if any of them are your favorites, or you think you want to recommend me a book, I have not been recommended a book yet. So not directly in the comments below. I kind of like that to happen. Someone out there, recommend me a book. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you like me standing up, I thought I'd give it a go. And you can see down the line of books that I have in here. Give it a thumbs up, give it a comment. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button, and happy reading. Bye.